Hello everyone. Today we're diving into the European Digital Markets Act, or DMA, a landmark regulation from the European Union that aims to reshape how major digital platforms operate in Europe. As digital platforms increasingly influence our daily lives, the EU has decided it's time to limit the power of tech giants that act as gatekeepers to the digital economy. The DMA's goal is to ensure a level playing field for smaller companies and more choices for consumers by making markets fairer and more open. But what exactly is a gatekeeper? According to the DMA, a gatekeeper is a large digital platform that has a major influence on the European market and acts as a middleman connecting businesses with consumers. For a company to be considered a gatekeeper, it must meet certain criteria, like having a yearly revenue of at least 7.5 billion euros in the EU, a market value over 75 billion euros, or an active user base of at least 45 million monthly EU users. That's 10% of the EU population. This designation specifically targets companies with a strong economic footprint and significant power over other businesses' access to consumers. The DMA introduces a range of new rules that gatekeepers must follow. Here are a few of the most impactful provisions. First, gatekeepers are no longer allowed to promote their own products above those of competitors. So, for example, if you're using a search engine owned by a gatekeeper, they can't prioritize their own products over those of smaller competitors. The DMA enforces what's called data portability, which means consumers should be able to easily move their data from one platform to another. There is also a rule requiring interoperability for messaging services. This means that users should be able to communicate across different platforms. For instance, users on one messaging app should be able to connect with users on another. There is vast critique from Signal and Threema about this point. Lastly, gatekeepers can't combine user data across services without explicit user consent. So if a gatekeeper owns multiple apps, they can't automatically share your data across them without asking you first. So how does this affect the major tech players? Compliance with the DMA means they'll need to make significant changes to how they operate in the EU. For example, search engines and marketplaces must adjust their algorithms to avoid any unfair self-preferencing. And companies offering messaging apps might need to create new cross-platform integrations. If a gatekeeper fails to comply with the DMA, they could face penalties including fines of up to 10% of their global revenue. Repeat offenders may even face structural remedies, such as divesting parts of their businesses. The DMA doesn't just impact large companies, it also benefits consumers and smaller businesses. Consumers could soon see more variety in digital products and fairer pricing because gatekeepers can't restrict access or unfairly promote their own services. Smaller businesses, especially tech startups, will have an easier time competing. The hope is that this will lead to more innovation as new players get a chance to enter the market without being overshadowed by tech giants. Of course, the DMA has faced some criticism. I mentioned some of it previously. Implementing these regulations will require significant oversight, which may be challenging and costly. Tech companies argue that the DMA could stifle innovation as they'll be more restricted in how they operate. And some experts worry that the DMA's complex requirements may actually slow down the development of certain services. Nonetheless, the EU is confident that the long-term benefits will outweigh these concerns. In conclusion, the Digital Markets Act represents a major step by the European Union to create a fairer digital economy. As it is enforced, we'll likely see more scrutiny in the practices of big tech and possibly some big changes in how we interact with these platforms. The DMA could even set a precedent influencing other regions to adopt similar policies, as we've seen with the GDPR. So whether you're a consumer, a small business or a tech enthusiast, the DMA is something to keep an eye on. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.